under the dim, flickering light of a lantern, with the distant rumble of gunfire echoing in the cold night. He sat in his tent, his hands, calloused and trembling just slightly, reached for the old, worn notebook he carried with him everywhere. This was his sanctuary, the place where he poured his heart out in letters to the love of his life. Tonight, he started a new one, "My dearest," he wrote, the pen scratching against the paper. "I don't know when you'll read this, but I hope when you do, the sun will be shining, and you'll smile the way you always do, that smile that makes everything else just disappear." He paused, his gaze falling on the photograph clipped to the corner of the page. It was her, bundled in the same red scarf he'd given her before leaving for the border. The memory of that day was seared into his heart, the tightness of her hug, her whispered words, "Come back soon, I'll wait for you." He clung to those words, wanting to believe they were a shield, a charm that would keep him safe. He wanted to believe, with every fiber of his being, that their love was stronger than this war. The days bled into weeks, each one a blur of mud, marches, and the deafening symphony of battle. The constant thud of boots, the sharp bark of commands, and the crack of gunfire became his new reality. But every single night, after the chaos of duty subsided, he would retreat into the quiet of his tent and write to her. He described the vast star-dusted sky above his camp, telling her how the constellations reminded him of the light in her eyes. He confessed that even when surrounded by the madness of it all, the thought of her love was his only true peace. He didn't write of the fear or the exhaustion. Instead, he filled the pages with hope, counting down the days until he could hold her in his arms again. He sealed each letter with a promise and sent it across the miles, a fragile bridge connecting their two worlds. Back home, she waited. Each letter that arrived was a lifeline, a tangible piece of him that she could hold. She would sit by the window where they had shared so many morning coffees, her fingers tracing his familiar handwriting. His words were a promise that he was still out there, still thinking of her, still fighting to come home. She read about the stars he saw and imagined looking up at the very same ones. She read about his longing and felt her own heart ache in response. And every week, without fail, she would reply. Her letters were a beacon of the life that was waiting for him. She wrote about the roses finally blooming in their garden, their crimson petals a symbol of a love that refused to wither. She told him about her dreams of them walking by the lake again, hand in hand, with nothing but the sound of the water and their laughter. And every night, before she fell asleep, she would whisper a prayer into the darkness, a plea for his safe return. Her letters were filled with the mundane, beautiful details of a life he longed to return to, a future she held on to for both of them. Then, one evening, a letter arrived. It was different from the others. The envelope was aged, the paper worn thin, and the handwriting, though his, was a little shaky, a little tired. Her heart began to pound a frantic rhythm against her ribs as she carefully opened it. The first words made the world stop. "My love," it began. "If you are reading this, it means I couldn't keep my promise to come back to you." Her hands froze. A cold wave washed over her, and the room started to spin. Her vision blurred with tears, the ink smudging into an unreadable haze as she forced herself to continue. He wrote, "I don't want you to cry for me. I want you to live. I want you to find happiness again, to laugh and to love. Because if my life meant anything, it was because I got to love you. Knowing you, loving you, that's enough for a lifetime." The letter ended with a line she could barely decipher through her grief, a whisper from a world away. "Even if I am gone, look up at the stars, I'll be the one shining brightest for you." She folded the letter, her movements slow and deliberate, holding it tightly to her chest as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The world outside her window continued on, oblivious to the fact that hers had just shattered. In the fading twilight, she lifted her gaze to the darkening sky, and for the first time in months, a sad, gentle smile touched her lips. There, among the first pinpricks of light, a single star twinkled with an impossible brightness. In that quiet, profound moment, she felt him. He wasn't gone. Their love hadn't ended with a final breath on a distant battlefield. It had simply changed its form, transcending space and time to become something eternal. It was a silent promise, a celestial reassurance that he was still with her. Years passed. Life as he had wished went on. She kept all of his letters, the hopeful ones, the longing ones, and the final, heartbreaking one, in a small wooden box she kept by her bed. It was her most precious possession. Sometimes, on nights when the world felt too heavy and the silence in the house too loud, she would open it. The scent of old paper and dried ink would fill the air, and she would carefully take one out, her fingers brushing over the words he had written just for her. And as she read, she would feel it again, the same warmth, the same strength she once felt when he held her hand. His love was not a memory. It was a living, breathing force in her life. This wasn't a story of loss, but a testament to an eternal connection. Because some loves don't fade with time or distance. They are written in ink, sealed with sacrifice, and carried forever in the heart, shining down from the stars for all of time. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that remind us of the enduring power of the human spirit. We'll see you in the next one.